welcome back to Code It With AI, episode 20. I'm Carl Franklin from AppVNext. That's Jeff Fritz from Microsoft. What's up, Jeff?
How do? It's, my lord, it's March, and there are plenty of cool new AI things that have been happening.
Lots of cool new AI things. So cool, in fact, that we reached out to Mark Miller to tell us about what he's been doing with CodeRush and AI, and he's right here. Mark, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Carl. I'm loving that you guys reached out. The timing was perfect. We had just released new functionality that we were working on for probably the better part of the last year, and it's out, and I feel pretty good about it. So
we talked to you on .NET Rocks about this like last year sometime, right?
Right. And this was kind of before we moved into phase 2. So that was kind of, phase 1. At the time last year, I was working on a feature for CodeRush called AiGen that basically allowed you to invoke AI in kind of a pair programming kind of context. Make this change for me right here inside Visual Studio. And with the whole idea of making it as fast as possible.
Yeah.
Right. So no need to, switch windows. You're staying in the code. The code gets integrated, that sort of thing.
So show us what you got today.
Okay. Well, can I just jump in real quick? I want to talk about the vector I was headed in at that time. At that time, I had a couple theories. And I pursued the theories to see if they would pay off. And so one of the theories was, I think that we can make a fast AI context pass where we ask AI in advance to formulate the context needed for a heavier duty reasoning response to return. That was hypothesis 1. Hypothesis 2 was, I bet we can get the response from AI to be much smaller and yet to create the same changes in the code.
Yeah.
And that was hypothesis 2. And that's what we work on. And that's what I'll show you. So let me jump over to the code here. And we'll go through kind of a couple demos that I've got inside of here. In this first class, I have a class. It's a class called Order Validator. I'm in a C# project. And it's got a method called validate core, and it takes in a validation result. We can open that up. And that's just got a list of errors in it, a public bool, whether it's valid or not. And there's also an order passed into it. And it descends from base validator. So right up here, we can go into base validator, new tab group. I'm just using CodeRush voice commands. And now we can see these side by side. And if I scroll down base validator, you can see it's got a method called require customer. And it's got some code that if you look left to right, it's similar, right? Customer is null. We're going to add to that validation result what the problem is, describe the problem. And if stop on first error is true, then we return. Otherwise, we keep going. Billing address is the same on both sides. And this last one here is checking the country code. And the same thing is happening here. These are almost, from here to here is almost the same from here to here. So I'm going to close this down, and what I'm going to ask is I'm going to ask AiGen to consolidate the duplication. I'm going to point it in the right direction, give it a little bit of a clue, but I'm not going to be specific. I'm not going to say the name of the method we were just in. I'm not going to say the class name that we were just in.
Okay.
I'm just going to ask it to consolidate the code. By the way, to do that, I've got right here a live view of my control key. You can see my finger right up against it. I'm going to invoke AiGen with a double tap and hold of the control key, and then I'll speak. Once I'm holding that down, it's the push to talk button, essentially.
Right.
And when I'm done talking, I can release it and it'll go. So let's start right here, and we'll say, hey, can you consolidate this code vis-a-vis the ancestor class? So that's my request to AI. So there's a quick context pass that happens. It goes out to the reasoning response, and then it comes back with the result. And that's it. In terms of speed, we can come in here and look at the navigator. Total time round trip from the time I finished talking to the time the code was changed is 3.3 seconds. Total cost was about 3 cents is what that AI interaction cost me. If I bring up the difference view here, you can see what it did. It took out those 3 blocks that we identified as similar, replaced them with a call to require customer. That's that similar code. Added this call right here. If not result is valid, and stop on first error, then return. So we've got that stop on first error thing that it added in is continuing. So the logic is continuing there. And then it didn't touch the rest of the method. It didn't touch here or here.
Wow.
Very cool.
It's pretty fast and pretty effective.
Pretty fast and pretty effective. Now, it kind of opens up some new things, right? If your interactions with AI are used to working through a chat window and asking for a request and then waiting for that to come back, I know that when I'm in that space, sometimes I'm like, I feel like I'm more of a manager of words than a coder anymore.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I feel a little displaced a bit, right? Okay, I'm just watching. What am I doing? I got to come up with something to be active during that time. And also because it's generally an investment, I will not ask it to do small things for me.
Yes.
Right? I won't ask it to do small things. I'll only ask it to do big things because that's what makes sense. I'll do all the small things myself. Well, what's cool about having a high-speed AI assistant is you can actually broaden the kinds of things that you can ask AI for. So that's kind of what we're doing here. So we've made that change, and that's great. Let's go to the next demo. Any questions on the last demo, by the way?
Which models are you using? And is that working with Copilot? Is that working with another service?
Let's see. I'm using GPT 5.2 is the model I'm using right here.
Okay.
And in terms of what you can connect it to, you can connect it to OpenAI. It requires an API key.
Sure.
Or Azure OpenAI, either one. And you can set up your model on either one of these two right here.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what we're doing. So you can select your models there from the list. You basically have all the available models that are there. Now let's look at this class. In fact, there's a method in here called compute taxes. And compute taxes is so big I can't get it all on screen. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you can see the size of this method. There it is right there. And it's kind of a big method. Now, normally when you ask AI for a change to something large like this, you essentially get a couple different options. You either get the whole thing regenerated, in which case you have to wait for that. Or you get some comments somewhere that say, here, put this and copy this and put this in here. So you're either waiting or you've got some sort of manual kind of change kind of thing. Let's go into the to-do here and take a look at what it says here. It says apply the customer's discount tax policy when calculating taxable base. Well, let's figure out what that means exactly. I've got a customer class right here, and there's my customer instance. Let's drill into that. And I see my customer has a discount policy, and it has two enum elements that are possible values for it. Reduced taxable base, right? So if I'm going to buy something and I have a discount, I shouldn't have to pay taxes on it if reduced taxable base is true. And then I've got this other option, fully taxable, which I don't like as a customer, but it basically says, hey, look, if you get a discount, you still have to pay taxes on the full amount. And so that's what the to-do is leaning towards right here. It says, hey, don't just subtract discount amount from it, right? And that's what we want to kind of repair is what we want to do there. So let's do something like this. Let's kind of double tap it and we'll say, hey, can you check the customer's discount policy? And that's kind of all I want to do here. And that's my response. Total time was 2.2 seconds to come back. And that's the code it gave me. We can take a look at the difference view again if you want to see that side by side and the difference right there. It took out that taxable base assignment and replaced it with the other piece. Again, it's a small example, right? But it is the scale of the example you can scale the example up. But the point is that if you are paying for AI, you don't want to pay for the whole method to be regenerated, right? You just want the smallest pieces. That's especially true because the output tokens are about 4 to 10 times more expensive than the input tokens, and they take longer to generate than it takes to read an input. So this whole thing is optimized, right? This whole approach is optimized for speed. And it turned out that the two hypotheses that I have that I had about a year ago were essentially turned out to be profitable, turned out to be really true.
So I have a question. It looks like the edits and stuff that you've done have been edits to existing code. How much does the AI model that you're using allow you to make system prompts or understand the context of the entire application? So, you can do things like add features and it'll actually understand what you're talking about.
So I think the answer in general is probably not spectacular, right? If you're talking about understanding an entire code base, that's incredibly hard to do given the context window limitations of all the models today, right? It's really, really hard to do and certainly hard to do fast. So one of the things that AiGen is great at is taking context and consolidating it to something very compact, right? So it can take that big file and it can drop it into something smaller that's easy for AI to read and understand the gist of. So that's like a thing that we can do. And there are things that we can do as well that can try to find related code so that you don't have to send your entire solution out to AI to go solve the problem, right? But if you're saying, I want to add a brand new feature and you just want to describe it from a very general standpoint, I think you're going to get yourself into trouble. I think what you really want is to know what the feature is, know what the architecture is going to look like, and then ask for the architecture.
So I think what you said before is true that, you're going to feel more like an in-control coder when you use this rather than just allowing an LLM to, like Copilot or something, just to understand. Because Copilot can do that. Copilot can understand your entire application, especially with something like Squad.
Right, yeah. And so if that's what you want to do, you should be using Copilot in that space.
Yeah.
Right? Or some other tool that has that broad understanding and you don't mind, getting some coffee or something like that while it's working.
But I appreciate this because, it puts the developer back in control.
Yeah, which I kind of like, right? As
of course.
you know me, I'm like all about being, in the code. Okay, so let's jump from there. And by the way, Carl, I do have, near the end, I have something that does a broader attack on the problem. And so we will get there. Let's get to the next demo down here.
Okay.
Okay, so this is kind of interesting. So this idea of I've asked AI to do something. What do I do while I'm waiting? Right? What we're going to do in this scenario is we're going to show you that we can actually make changes to the code while we're waiting. So we'll start by asking AI to do something in here, and then I will go up and I'll make some changes up here near the top of the file. So can you wrap or just add logging console logging to all of these throws inside of all the failures inside this method. And so that was my request. I'll come up here near the top and I'll write down logs, failures, and I'm going to hit tab right there. Whoops. I think I hit it just as it was coming back in there. I was going to accept that IntelliSense piece right there. At any rate, I typed in log fail. I got to that part right there. I was going to hit IntelliSense, but it came back just before I did that to accept the Copilot suggestion. I mean, so this is what it looks like, right? I've made changes up at the top while it's made changes inside of the method. It added these console error right line calls all the way up and down inside the method. So I can still work. I can work in the file. I can work on the method I'm modifying. I can still work in Visual Studio while it's out there working. Let's do this again. This time I'm going to launch two agents to make two changes at once to the same method. And we'll look at that. Can we add some console logging around failures in this method? I want to add the track operation attribute and set categories to orders. So now I've got two up. One just landed, and there's a second one landed.
Nice.
And if we look over here, now I mentioned the track operation attribute. It's over here. So I did mention the class by name. I said, can we order the add it? But AiGen found it, sent it out, right? So what we're doing is we're very quickly figuring out what you're talking about. And that's happening not only with heuristics, but it's happening with an AI pass. So there's an AI pass that goes out that says, here's what Mark said.
Yeah.
And here's information about, relevant information about the solution. What do you think AI would need to answer this question correctly? And then it comes back with that, and we get it. So we get one landing here, and we can just kind of go through those. We can hit F8 to navigate through those in there. And then we have a second landing here where it's added usings, and it added this track operation attribute, which is right there. And I asked it to say, we set the category to orders. Okay?
Yeah.
All right, everybody good with that? I'm going to undo one more time. And now this time I'm going to do the same thing, but this time I'm going to go in and attack the code at the same place where AI is going to try to make a change. And we'll see what happens when there are conflicts. Okay. I want you to add console logging to each of the individual failures inside this method. And now I'll come up here, select that, delete that, return null. And my hands are off the keyboard. I've made a change since we started. Yeah. And now let's take a look at what's happening right here now in the response. So you can see that we've got the selection there. That was changed. This was changed. This and this and this was changed. But this one was not. And it basically says, hey, the change for this member was skipped because the target code changed in flight, right? Wow. The original code was this. What were you thinking, Mark? You went in and modified while you asked? And here's what the attempted replacement is. So basically, the point here is that if you go and modify something or you use a tool to rename or something like that, AiGen does not give you an all or nothing kind of situation. In other words, it doesn't replace all your work with its work, and it doesn't cancel its work simply because you made a change. What it does is it makes the changes where it can, and if there's a conflict, it says, here's where it is, and you can now resolve it.
I was gonna ask Mark. I almost want to see like a git merge result there, so that hey, there was a conflict here. Let me show you what was going to be suggested and the change that you made, and here was the original code, and let you choose how to do the three-way merge.
I love it. It's a great suggestion. It's not there yet because this is edge case scenario.
Right. You're hitting places here where, okay, look at the scenarios of things that are now unlocked because we have something else editing code at the same time we are.
Yeah. No, believe me, I'm totally in agreement. I'm totally feeling it. It's just a matter of like, okay, where do we apply the resources on this, right? Where do we best apply resources? But at the very least, we give you this, right? At the very least, you can come in, copy the piece you want, paste it in, or do an undo if you want to do that, that sort of thing. So you've got some options.
Oh, and I'm also thinking of that scenario you showed us just before this, where you gave two different agents instructions, and if they were both trying to make edits to the same area of the app,
Right.
you could have a similar type of conflict. Help me resolve what you want to do here.
Sure, you're right. You could totally have that situation as well. Yeah, if this gets enough people saying, Mark, I really, really want this merge feature right in here, we'll implement it and add it. Yeah. Carl, do you have a question or something you wanted to say?
My question is, what are you using for speech recognition?
I'm using Azure Speech Services. It's incredible. I don't, they should pay me because I'm like their best friggin' spokesman.
Yeah.
I love Azure Speech Services.
So you don't have to train it, right? I mean,
no.
Yeah.
It's accurate. It's accurate and it's fast, right? We're talking about speed here, right? This whole, everything that I've said, when I said it took 2.2 seconds, that includes Azure's recognition time. Right? When I was telling you that, that's the total time from the minute I let go of that, from the second I let go of that control key to the time that we get the final answer back.
It's great.
Yeah, no, I love it. It's fast. It's fast. It's fast. Plus you get free support. Holy cow. Here, let's switch back to the code a second. Let me show you what we get as a benefit of using Azure Speech Recognition. I can choose the language I want to speak in.
Yeah.
I get 100+ languages. So I can ask AI in any language I want. I can even tell AI that I want all my comments to be in another language or in English or whatever. And I can speak. I can also set up voice feedback as well and choose other languages or voices for voice feedback.
Very cool.
Wow.
So
very, very cool.
So yeah, that's Azure Speech Services. Holy cow. It's fast and it's accurate, and you can, I guess I'm just their free spokesperson now. But put my name on put my face on a poster for these guys.
So somebody who uses AiGen, do they have to have their own keys for Azure Speech Services, so they pay for their own service?
If you want to use, voice like I've been using it, you can also bring up a prompt like this and type in if you want to do the old-fashioned way. But voice is about, I think, 2.5 to 4 times faster than typing.
Sure.
So, and because we've got this really nice kind of push-to-talk mechanism, it's very, very fast. It's not like I have to do any, like Control Alt whatever, or toggle something on and then toggle it off. It's a push-to-talk. So I hold that down while I'm talking. And like I say, it's fast.
And it doesn't interfere with the control key being used in every other application you want to use it in. That's what I love about it, is that you not only picked a key but a pattern,
right?
And that's the secret sauce. That's great.
Yeah, no, it is. It's really, really, it's really good. It's like, gosh darn it, all that time spent studying UI seems to have finally paid off, right? We're like,
you studied UI.
Turns out you can create something that kind of works.
No, certainly it isn't movie royalties.
You studied UI so that you could set up voice recognition.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. No, I've been studying UI for like 15 years, it seems.
Yeah.
But, All right. Let's talk about debugging. Can we do that?
Yeah.
Sure.
Test cases. All right. I'm going to run the program. And we're inside a file where I've got a breakpoint on it right here. We're waiting for that breakpoint to hit. It looks like we're hitting it. There it is right there. And what's happening? I've got an order that's coming in, and we're building a shipping label. The order, let's look at this. The order, it has a discount amount. It's got an order ID. Looks like it's debug 1001. It's got some subtotal, $120 or euros, and tax amount of 0. So we've got a discount on there. It's got a customer. ID is C-42, Ada Lovelace, and it has got a billing address, which is in Seattle, 133 Example Street, 98101. Cool. And then if we look down here at bug, it says, hey, if region is null or empty, this produces ugly output, like something like this. In fact, if we look at city, region, postal, and we kind of zoom in on that, you can see we've got some extra spaces here.
Right.
1, 2, 3.
Because there's no
between
region.
the two. Right. Region is empty, or it's got a space in it, or something like that. All right. So what we want to do is we want to leave the file. There it is right there. So what we want to do, well, we could fix this, right? We could use AiGen to fix this, but I told you the demo was going to be about debugging and test cases.
Yes.
So we're not going to do that. What we're going to do instead is we're going to ask AiGen to create a test case for us. So let's do that. Hey, can you create a test case for this method using the debug time values in the order parameter? And I'm really interested in what happens when region is empty or consisting only of white spaces. No matter what, I want to make sure there are no double spaces in the output. But if the region is empty, I want to make sure that there's no dangling comma. In other words, I should only have a comma between city and region, not between city and postal code. Okay, so that was kind of a long, rambling request for AI to do it.
Rambling?
By the way,
No.
if you notice over here, there's a test project. In fact, it's just got highlighted as I reached over to point it to it. And now what's happened is it found the test fixture that was already testing our order address formatter that we just came from. Also, take a look at the code that it's built for us. Look at the values inside. Those values came from the debug time watch that we were looking at, right? The debug time values. It has reconstituted it. Look, there's address it's building. Here it's assigning address to billing address. It builds customer with the same values we saw before. And then here it assigns more values and assigns customer to the customer property. So it reconstitutes what we saw at debug time, builds the test case, and we haven't stopped debugging. We're
Right.
still in it, still going through it. So that is kind of cool. Oh, and there at the very end, there are the asserts that I asked for, right? At the end. So, all right.
Very good.
Any questions on that? Everybody good?
How fast does it take Joe developer to get up to speed with this thing to be as productive as you are?
Well, I think there's probably about I'd say about a 15-minute setup time where you have to enter your keys, you have to, follow instructions and do all that. But once you do that, it's like, if you're familiar with AI, right, I think you're noticing that I'm not being very specific about anything I'm saying.
Right.
Right. I'm like saying, I'm kind of speaking I'm speaking as if I was speaking to another developer in the room.
Right.
Right. So there's no training required on what you need to say.
You almost sound like either a development manager or somebody in quality assurance who's stepping through and making comments to another developer.
Yeah, there's a lot of context. So the thing is, when we send, like, for example, if I were to send this screen, if I were to invoke AiGen from here, AiGen would know, in addition to the file, it would know what's in my view. What can I see? Right? The AI model would, right? So it knows where the caret is. So a while back, I did a demo where I put the caret inside of a variable and I said, consider the customer's discount policy or something like that, right? And it's like, it knows the variable and understands what I'm on, and it uses that as context if there's nothing else obviously clear about what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I got 2 more demos coming up, a real quick one here. I'm just going to undefine this right here, or uncomment that rather. And you'll notice I've got an arrow that popped up here. It's right about there. And I'm just going to put the caret on there, and I'm going to say, hey, can you fix this? Just like that. And I just want to show that.
Yeah.
So in addition to having an understanding of the solution, understanding of the code, an understanding of the hierarchy, right? An understanding of the debug time values. There's also an understanding of the active errors on screen, the error list tool window. So you can grab it, select a bunch of those and say, hey, can you fix these? Or something along those lines if you want to do that as well. Okay,
Oh,
so it's
man.
very much embedded inside Visual Studio.
I need that for my continuous integration process, Mark, because right, whenever anybody writes continuous integration scripts, hey, I need you to build and run all my unit tests and get ready to package something as a NuGet package or as an npm package and ship and publish to a website. There inevitably always is an error, and everybody always ends up with the commits of shame in their source control, where there's like 10 commits back and forth that all say, trying to fix this. Well, I'm moving this thing over here, changing the spaces in my YAML file to see if that works now, and so on and so forth. I just want to be able to double click that control button and say, fix this.
Fix this.
Yeah. Make an attempt. Well, that should be coming anyway, right? This broad scope, that's probably a feature that's going to happen anyway, but you can still do that, although I will say within limits. So because AI still got this context window problem, and it's got a budget for what it comes back to you with as well.
Sure.
So if you were to say, well, let me grab 5 errors at a time, or maybe 10 errors at a time, I think AI could probably handle that. But I think if you were saying 20 errors or more, I think a lot of AI models would be like, I can only do so much.
Oh, I just want to point to to my CI system's error message and tell it, hey, go take a look at that error message. Fix it.
Hey, can you make this app not suck so much? Can you turn down the suck? Because that would be really great. Go.
But it goes up to
Yeah,
11,
no, I
Carl.
love that. Wait, what'd you say?
The suck, it goes up to 11.
Yeah.
It does go to 11.
No, the awesome goes to 11. The suck goes all the way to 0.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay. All right, so that's what we want. All right, so last demo. Let's go over to, where is it? Over here? All right. So we've shown up to this point small changes, right? Everywhere we went, we were creating a method here, maybe, and we were modifying small bits of code there. Now what we want to do is do something bigger. So we'll make a bigger, broader AI request. And I think I'm playing with the idea. I think I'm going to do it. While I'm asking for the bigger, broader one, I'll do a secondary demo as well of kind of a cool functionality that we've had for a while, but it's kind of cool and powerful. So we'll just do 2 at once here. So first of all, let's introduce you to this interface. It's called iOrderRule, and it's got a single method called apply. It returns a rule result, and that rule result
Easy
looks
for
like
you
this.
to say.
Yeah, I know it's not. It's like, can you tell I'm having trouble? I think I am. I think it's happening. Yeah. Is success is a Boolean, message is a string, and then we've got some static constructors right here. So that's kind of simple, kind of typical. Order, we've seen that already, right? With that Ada Lovelace debug time thing, that was order. So we already know that. And it's got this apply method here. So let's do this. Can you create 10 non-trivial implementations of this interface and put them in the rules namespace? I got to change the name of that rule result to something
Rule
else.
result.
Yes, maybe rural rule result or
Rural
something.
rule result.
So, wait, I said I was going to do something else. Hey, can you copy every right arrow indicator from emojis to the clipboard and or special characters?
Ask it to give you some documentation on that interface while you're at it. The comment documentation.
Oh, okay, sure. Can you document this interface? Did I get it? I don't think it got it. Let's do it one more time. Can you document this interface for me? Hold on. Wait.
I'm sorry.
First of all, I want to paste what's on the clipboard because I want to see if that came back in. Okay, so it just copied the single right arrow. That's all it did. I was asking for a whole bunch of them, but I think in the stress of it all, check. Okay, can you please document this interface for me?
Right, it's one of those things we all love to have.
Okay.
Beautiful.
All right, let's take a look at what came in here. So if we look down here, we can see several things. This is the fixing of the bug that we had before. These are the order rule implementations. I don't think I highlighted it yet, but they're right there in the rules folder. So I did not have that folder. It added the folder, put the files there. This kind of is a step closer to what Carl was asking for. Can you do big features? Well, if you know how to build the big features, you know what to ask for. Yes.
Right.
Not so much if you're just saying, I want to be able to print out to PDF files or something like that. I mean, it kind of can. You can add NuGet packages, for example, right? So if there are ways of doing things that are known by AI, it can add those things in there. All right, so we've got all of these in here. Those pieces are there all the way through. And then the XML.comment that was added right there for us. And that's it. So now let's come down in here and let's extend the interface. I want you to add 2 properties to this interface, name and description. And be sure to update the documentation that's here in this file, and be sure to update all of the implementers, give them good implementations for name and description. All right.
You didn't have to say strings.
Right.
Probably
that's what I'm talking about.
Default. Maybe.
Right. Not that it's default, but it's what we're talking about. Right. So, okay. So it's now Jeff Fritz friendly documentation right here. Right. And let's see. I don't see the navigator. I'm not sure where it went. Maybe it closed down. What I can do is I can undo and then I can redo. And there's the navigator popping back up again for me right there. So let's tell it not to close, and we can see what the changes were here. So there's the implementation there and the description. You can see in each one of these, it made and modified that change. Does that make sense? We're looking here and we're looking here at the name and the description all the way through. And so that is kind of a sense of what AiGen can do. It's like a pair programmer a bit, right? In terms of being able to you speak to it in a way that is not, that's not explicit in terms of explicitly mentioning the names of variables or the names of methods, things like that. It gets a lot of just the same way a human would get that context. It gets that context.
I'm awful at remembering the explicit names of things inside of my application systems.
Yeah.
So being able to just say, hey, make sure you decorate this thing so that it's logging errors appropriately. Like,
right.
I don't care whether you console log or you do a logger.log information or something like that. Yes. So I love that type of interpretive coding by help of the AI.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's nice because it also drops your cognitive load. Normally when you're doing, when you look at implementations of voice, or at least in the old days, voice required keywords, right? Explicit, precision. And that increased cognitive load, which does not make sense. I'm a huge fan of dropping the cognitive load down and so that you can only apply it, only use it, for the things you need to really use that cognitive load for.
Right. Do you hear that, Carl? Mark's telling us that even dumb guys like me can go through and write code a little bit better.
It's so easy, even we could use it.
Did I say that? Is that what happened? What's going on?
I'm going to change my Twitch handle now to cognitive load. That's me.
Well, Mark, this is amazing stuff, and it's so good to see that you're finally at a place where you're using it. You're obviously showing how easy it is to use. It's fantastic, and I'm going to get started right away. How do we do that, by the way? How do we get this?
So I sent you some links. I assume they're going to be down below at some point in time, the usual place. One of those links is to download CodeRush. You can just Google CodeRush and probably grab the first link. It's either going to be the DevExpress site or the Visual Studio Marketplace. It's free. If you want to get started in this, you're going to need an API key for, if you want to use voice, you can use the Azure Speech Services API key. You want to know how much I paid in the last year for my Azure API voice services?
Tell us.
0. I've done 0 because they give me a free $5 a month credit, and I don't even come close to using that in doing my coding.
Wow.
Okay. Can I tell you how awesome? Hey, they're not paying me. I'm not paying them. Come and get me, Azure team. Come and get me. So you're going to need.
You can send those checks to Mark Miller.
And you'll need one for. I'm sorry, what, Carl?
You can send those checks to Mark Miller, care of Karen Mangicotti. Yeah. This is great.
So yeah, you just need to install it and set up the keys. And there are links to all the source code that I've shown today is available on GitHub. And there's a link to that as well. And there's a link to a blog post that talks about the new stuff, and you can look at the old stuff as well. And we expect to have some videos out showing this stuff as well in the next probably 2 weeks.
Awesome. That's great, Mark. And, well, that's our show for today. And if you've got any suggestions or comments or anything that you want to tell us, send it to Jeff and me by email at codeitwithai@appvnext.com. And we'll be sure to read it. And, you know, if we actually use your idea, maybe we'll send you a mug or something. So see you next week.
Take care, friends.
Thanks for watching. Make sure to check out blazertrain.com and blazerpuzzle.com for more great content.